Do it again, do it again.
Alright, hopefully all this is set properly, because I haven't done this in a while, so...
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm not a professional, so let's try to bear that shit in mind. I gotta do all the goddamn work, and I don't even get paid for this shit. Well.
You do it because you love it. And you're a man.
That could be debatable. I should probably shut my window. There we go. I would love to be able to have the fan on, but the microphone would catch that. I've really been debating about trying to buy a directional microphone. Which I believe is something that Rage Select uses. Of course, I don't know how much a really good directional mic costs. It's probably pretty pricey.
Not cheap, that's for sure. For anything of quality when it comes to sound or video isn't going to be cheap. But I don't know. They've been making leaps and bounds as far as advances go with quality and price for years. So you probably find something pretty decent.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you know, and these rock band mics that I have, they're pretty damn good. They're not terrible. I did once try to record my sister and I with two microphones. I just didn't realize the fact that both mics are gonna catch all the audio in the room. So
Yep.
it was like, oh well, okay, I can't use that or really do that again until I figure out how do you separate audio? And it was either that or try to go through the half hour long audio and just edit the shit out of it. I really don't want to do that. That's just too mind numbing.
Yeah.
As is any kind of severe editing process, really. It's a huge pain in the ass. But at least my editor is a lot better than the old one I had.
You mean the one that crashed all the time?
Yep. That editor was I mean, it was fine if you were just doing a quick little Let's Play video. But, anytime you did anything that required, if I wanted to do a review video that required, any sort of multi-edits, it was a piece of shit. Because anytime I would go to do anything new, I would have to, stop and let it load. Because if I immediately clicked anything else, it was going to not respond and then crash. And it just did that constantly. So every time I made any sort of new step, I had to remember to save. Or else otherwise I was going to have to start all over again. And goddamn, that shit was irritating. But what do you expect from a piece of shit editor, really? Really, I don't even think it was really made for that kind of editing. Either that or it was just a really, really crappy program. Well, okay. How about we stop tap dancing around here and actually get to the fucking point of this podcast? Hey, everybody, welcome to the Other People podcast. I actually wonder, should I keep that weird little rant in there, or should I edit that out? Who knows? You'll never really know unless you actually listen to this. Alright, so as usual, I am your host, Jordan. With me, as always, are my two co-hosts, my good buddy, Andy.
Hello.
And, of course, our cover artist and resident ninja, QuickKick.
Hello.
And we're going to delve a little bit into the Souls game series, just a little bit, because we're not really experts. Mostly because I also want to talk a little bit about the BloodBorne video game, which came out quite a while ago. But kind of just wanted to briefly touch on what has everybody been up to lately. Andy?
Well, I got done playing Dragon Age Inquisition.
Nice.
I've now started Skyrim, just for the hell of it.
Again?
Yeah. It's a game I keep going back to.
Yeah.
It's like an addiction. I can't get away from it.
What kind of a class are you playing now?
Oh, I'm going through as just a pure warrior.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Cool.
whacking people with a giant axe.
Nice. I got a buddy of mine onto that. He's never played any of the Elder Scrolls series. So Skyrim is going to be his first. So
It's a good one to start off on.
yeah, and we played it together for about an hour or so. And he was really digging it. So yeah, so that's something. How about you, QuickKick?
Oh, a bit of things here, a bit of things there. A little bit of ninja work here and there. Made some time out to go hang out with the folks at the Ragecast on RageSelect.com. That was fun.
Yep.
Yep. So it was a live event for about 5 to 6 hours. After I threw a few through Jeff's controller,
Yes.
when joined Mr. Salisbury for a few Scotch bowls, and then promptly passed out on his couch.
Yes. The now legendary Scotch Bowl.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Official drink. Official drink of the Ragecast, by the way.
Yes. Most people would probably assume that if you're drinking scotch out of a bowl, clearly you have a problem.
Well, yeah, it's the
Well, yeah.
classiest son of a bitch that there is.
Indeed. Myself, I've just been kind of marathoning a few things, trying to work on a few things. Caught a whole bunch of movies, a couple of rentals. I sat down and watched John Wick about a week ago. The Keanu Reeves revenge action movie, and it's kick-ass. It's really good. Go ahead, QuickKick.
No, I was saying, that's good. That's good. It's been a while since Keanu Reeves has really had a halfway decent film, as far as I can remember.
Well, and as I understand it, he was kind of on hiatus for a little while for some personal matters, family business.
Ah.
And I gotta say, this has gotta be some of his best acting I've seen in quite a long time. Because there are quite a few bits where he gets really emotional. And like when I say, balls to the wall action, there is, some really good and really intense action scenes in here. But there's also quite a lot of, really good acting in there too. And I mean, if you've seen any trailers for it, it does just look like a really good straight up revenge movie where the twist is that this guy that they fucked with turns out he's an ex Russian assassin and supposed to be the best of the best. So
Like,
hell,
whoopsie.
yeah, it's like the head of the Russian mob says, "Son, do you have any idea who the hell you just fucked with? You just fucked with John Wick."
Oh.
Hell, man, like our people, you used to call him the Baba Yaga, also known as the Boogeyman. And it sounds like the Boogeyman's like, well, John really wasn't exactly the Boogeyman. Really, he's the guy you send to kill the fucking Boogeyman.
And yet everybody wants to fuck with him.
Well, and it's funny too, because it's like his son was like the only person in New York City who didn't know who John Wick was, and yet everyone else knows who he is.
So basically, this monster guy's son has been living under a rock for the past few decades or so.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, awesome movie, really good acting. Does involve a dead dog, which really I don't blame John Wick for getting so pissed off and wanting hideous bloody revenge. Because part of the plot is that his wife just died of cancer, and he'd been retired for quite a few years, or probably even a decade or so. And he receives a gift, like a day or so after his wife died. She bought him a puppy dog as a final gift for him, as a sort of remembrance, basically. And of course, it just has to be, the cutest, most adorable dog possible, to make you go
of course.
like, oh,
that way
God.
It's really horrifying when it dies.
Yeah. And this little piece of shit, he, well, because like they have a meeting earlier on, before the transgression happens, where he's at a gas station and he wants to buy John Wick's car. And he's like, no, I'm sorry, it's not for sale. And so later on, he breaks into his house, steals his car, beats the shit out of him, and kills his dog. Just because. And it's like, okay.
Yep.
I'm
Fucker
coming
needs
for
to
you,
die.
and I'm gonna fucking murder you.
Yeah.
And then I caught The Babadook the other night on Netflix, which is a psychological horror movie.
Oh, okay.
And
Never heard of it.
yeah, well, I mean, I had heard about it a little bit. Mostly I just heard that it's really good. And yeah, it is.
I forget. Wasn't that I'm trying to think of the studio that did it. It was like one of the more independent studios, wasn't it? Wasn't a major
Yes.
release.
Yes, it was. It's an independent horror movie. At least I believe it was, because I believe it went to a few of the independent film showcases, because it was made over in Australia. And I mean, it's such a clever idea too, where it starts off on this the single mother and her son. Hell, the movie starts off by basically saying the husband died while he was driving his wife to the hospital to have her son.
Okay.
And about like 6 years later, she never had a chance to grieve over the death of her husband. And because of that, she never really got the ability or the chance to properly bond with her son. And like there are so many clever metaphors for this movie, just because of the whole Babadook thing, where it brought up the ideas of a postpartum depression, for one, and a lot of repressed grief and repressed emotions. Basically, what happens is, the son one night he finds this child's book that he wants his mother to read to him. It's called Mr. Babadook, and even the book itself is just creepy. Where it has these very old-fashioned style, drawings, and it's a pop-up book too. Just talking about briefly like what the Babadook is, and that it's coming to get you, and that it wants you to let it in, and so eventually, basically, the Babadook becomes real, where it is a manifestation of like all the mother's like physical and mental problems, of her not dealing with her grief or with her anger or anything, to a point where when the Babadook takes possession of her, the book basically tells her, like, you are going to murder your son. Brutally. You are going to murder your son. And yeah, it's very clever, and it's very scary too. It's a very old-fashioned psychological horror where you never see the monster.
Mm.
I mean, I really, always like that they don't, show the monster, that they only show to you, like these small glimpses of it. And it's such a clever design,
And just
too.
kind of let your imagination kind of fill in the gaps.
Yeah. And I mean, just the voice of the monster when it says its own name, too. I, because obviously, I mean, you hear the name of, the Babadook, it just kind of sounds silly.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hear this creepy half cockroach, half man, half sort of weird monster uh, whisper its own deformed name, good fucking god, it'll make your skin crawl.
Mm.
But yeah, it's on Netflix Instant right now, and it definitely gets a high recommendation. It's a really good movie. Hell, I'd say this movie was effective enough where, like, there were a couple of nights where I had a few times having a hard time trying to get to sleep.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's worth a watch.
Yep.
It is most definitely. All right, let's move on to the subject at hand, finally, if we can. There were a few other things that I want to touch on, but they're not really that important. All right, Dark Souls 2, and BloodBorne. I've only played Dark Souls. And I mean, I played it obviously much, much later on, after it had already been out. Like, I think I bought the Prepare to Die edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily know what is so different about it from the original version that came out. Maybe there's just more stuff, or or just more story, or who knows. My first sort of thing that kind of pulled me away from it, because whenever I play a sort of a hack and slash RPG game like that, is that I was really curious to know, like, is it open world? Nope. Like, oh, well, that's kind of disappointing. But I mean, it is an interesting enough game. I haven't really gotten too deep into it. I would like to. I do like it for its interesting challenge. I will say that. But if you step away from the game for way too long and you forget, because, like, if you play any other sort of hack and slash RPG game, the controls are all always tend to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, I found it funny when I went back to Dark Souls just a little while ago. I was baffled just by the fact of, oh shit, that's right, these controls are vastly different. Like, your normal attack is the RB, and then your heart attack is the R trigger, and then your defense, I think, was one of the left triggers or something like that. Hell, it took me forever when I whipped out my bow and arrow to remember, how do I switch to first person so I can properly aim?
Yeah, that bow did take a while to when you first get it in Undead Burg, and you try to figure, you got the undead they're not skeletons, I forget what they were called, the guys in the Undead Burg, that
Yeah.
throwing like the black fire bombs at you, and you're just like trying to get the bow out. You're on the bridge, you're trying to shoot things at him, you can't figure it out, and then all of a sudden you just bam, 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 you're getting hit with those things from the front, and you're getting shot in the back from the archer that's behind you, and yeah, some of those controls it takes keeping up and practicing with, or it's pretty easy to forget. Like, you have one triggers for your shield defense, and then the other trigger is to do your parry. Do your parry to your repost attacks. But yeah, like you said, with the controls are a bit different than what you would typically find in other, there's any kind of game with a melee based attack or with any kind of shield and stuff. Fortunate thing though is when you get it down and you keep a regular practice, you can get pretty good with it. You know, you can be
Yeah.
flowing pretty regularly, but taking some steps back away from it can, you do gotta kind of practice a little bit before you hop back into it. And I think fortunately enough though, the game's made in such a way, you can just run back to some beginning area or some area with some cheese enemies and just kind of whoop up on them until you feel ready to get back to what you were doing.
Yeah. How far into Dark Souls did you get, Quick Kick?
Well, it's kind of ironic. I made it further in Dark Souls 2 than I actually did in Dark Souls 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a combination of life, work, and a bunch of other things. I liked them both. I stepped away from Dark Souls 1 right, I believe, right after I got past the Gaping Dragon, which, by the way, bleh, bleh. Um, so I got past him. And then just life and work kicked up. I never managed to get back to it until actually Dark Souls 2 came out.
Mm.
And I got real excited off of watching the playthroughs that at the time Rate Select did on their Savage Tits show.
Yeah.
And watching something like that, I will admit, that kind of gave me like a small, not like shot in the arm, but kind of like a little boost over, I guess, someone walking into Dark Souls off the street. Because I will
Mm-hmm.
say, for Dark Souls, it's kind of it's a tough hill to get over to get into
Yes.
them. Kind of like MOBAs nowadays.
Yes.
They got a couple new ones out that really make it easier for your average civilian to walk into it. But uh,
Mm-hmm.
for Dark Souls, it's tough. They're
Yes.
tough games. Then they're designed to be that way. So for your average gamer to walk into it and to not know anything about it or not have any background with the games, it's a high obstacle to overcome. First off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I will say, there are a few, I'll say maybe control wise. Uh, well, really, there's only one, and that's whenever you try to use your kick
Hmm.
ability, in order to get some of those particular um, undead warriors, or hell, probably any warrior that you come across later on in the game, where they're always on a very high defense, and you have to try and knock them out of it,
Right.
uh, is a bit of a pain. Where it's like you have to press forward, and then like one of the um, and then one of the attack buttons in order to actually do that. But sometimes if you don't do it just right, it doesn't work. Instead, you do something else.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, for me, I mean, I've gotten as far as getting to the Taurus demon, which is very early on. And then I just kind of got lost, where I couldn't figure out like how do I get to the gargoyles
Oh yeah.
boss. Because I know they're supposed to be next, but I'm like, did I did I miss a route? Did I miss a key? What do I do? And I just kind of really lost interest in it. Uh, because because there's not. Well, I mean, there's really nothing else to do except just kind of go through the game. Or really in some way just kind of go through the motions. And I mean, um, and like I understand there's. Well, I mean, like there are some differences with some of the classes, kind of. Uh, but primarily, it's. I mean, it always just seems to me to always the best class to be is always just your standard fighter. Uh, though I understand the mages are pretty damn powerful, but
Yeah, it's a common problem in Dark Souls. One for sure. Even to a degree in Dark Souls 2 is the magic in Dark Souls 1 is really overpowered.
hmm
And they tried to nerf it a little bit in Dark Souls 2,
yeah,
which if you were a faith character in Dark Souls 2, you were really pissed off about because it took all the power out of your lightning bolts.
yeah,
Um, But yeah, yeah. Dark Souls 1, Warrior's good. That's usually what I rolled with was a knight. Yeah, I love the old sword and shield combo, but
Mm-hmm.
admittedly though, as I went along, I found that a lot of times it's better to have like a some kind of magic, whether it was pyromancy or faith, so you can get the lightning bolts. You have something like that in your back pocket because you run into some bosses, you can't trade with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that Dark Souls is known for. Uh, the bosses, so magic at a certain point you just need it, or you gotta be really good with that bow, which I never was.
Yeah.
But yeah, the magic sometimes could get really overpowered when it came to not just the game itself, but also PvP and invaders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we can talk about in a second. But yeah, so it was a slight problem, but I don't think it was game breaking or anything like that.
Yeah. The PvP, I only really had that happen, I think, once. Uh, where and of course, uh, the thing is that, oh well, you don't want that to happen. Just don't become
Yeah,
human,
right,
pretty
right.
much. Uh, and I mean, I would like to play more of Dark Souls, but I mean, part of the problem is that for someone like me, who loves the whole exploration, and just being able to tool around and do whatever that they want, uh, makes it just not very interesting for me,
Mhm.
sadly. Uh, uh, but what about you, Andy? I mean, I know that you only played
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls 2,
Yeah,
right?
and I haven't gotten very far in it. I kind of play it like in stints and just uh,
Mm-hmm.
haven't gotten far. One annoying thing I did find in Dark Souls 2 is I talked to this one guy in the first little village that you come across. He wants me to find the key so he can open up his blacksmith shop.
Yeah,
I
you
have
told me
no
about
idea
this.
where the fuck it's at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing that Dark Souls was a bit different than other games or most games is that it's nothing is explained up front.
Nope.
Everything, especially in um, Dark Souls 1, and yeah, and even in 2, you have to discover all the history and all the story through the items that you pick up and the item descriptions. That's essential. And sometimes with different characters they talk to, which can suck sometimes because depending on how you play the game, some events might happen to where that character might not be alive when you get to them, or they may not be in a place where you ordinarily would come across them, or you may not find a certain back road. Like in Dark Souls 2, they have a character that's hidden behind a locked door in a pit where there's like four or five basilisks, I think they're called, and they're basically these giant frogs that will freeze you. They'll do what's called a curse attack on you, and if they do it for a long enough period of time, which is usually like a few seconds, your character freezes in place and you're dead. It turns you to
Mm-hmm.
stone. So, needless to
Yeah.
say, when you drop down that cave, you're trying to haul ass out of there. You're not looking at this like random door that's locked and like, oh, gee, what's behind here? You just try to get your ass out of there. And maybe the second or the third time you go down there, you might begin to wonder what's behind that door, and eventually put the effort in to open it. But you know, chances are, 5 out of every 10 people who goes by that door never go back to it, so they never get to interact with that character or find out their story and stuff. So uh it, it's it's um it's not deliberately trying to hide stuff from you, but it's definitely a very investigative kind of game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would certainly add to that by saying, like, really, really, what it is it's a throwback to the old fashioned, like if you went back and you played original Metroid or like original Zelda, it doesn't tell you where to go
It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
at all. It's just like, hey, go save the world,
Hmm.
or uh,
it's like
you know,
they
or
just
go
kind of
and do
dropped into the
this.
middle of this thing and just like, do whatever.
Just go. Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean there are secret passages and and just all this other stuff. I mean I will say though, it can obviously be a problem if there is something in particular that you need and the game isn't telling you like well this that you really need is like all the way back here, and like you should have found it or really known about it.
You know
You know,
that thing that you thought was important and didn't pick up? Well, you really should have.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, you could, probably always, just go back, and go and find it. Like, I understand, uh, like, in the asylum, when you go, when you're kind of, just mingling about, and there's that big boulder that rolls down the stairs and it knocks down the wall. And there's the half dead knight in there who may or may not have been responsible for helping you to get out of there.
Hmm.
That if and when you talk to him, I believe like he gives you a key and he gives you some extra Estus flasks
He,
as well.
yeah, he gives you your first Estus flask, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because do you even start off with Estus flasks? I'm trying to remember if you do or not.
I don't believe so. If you did, they were all empty. But I'm pretty sure he gives you your first Estus flasks.
Yeah, which are very important.
No, it
Uh,
clutch beyond clutch. It's like you can't play the game without Eustace flasks.
yeah. Uh, so then, how far into Dark Souls 2 have you gotten, Quick Kick?
Dark Souls 2, I made it all the way to let's see here. Made it past the Iron Keep, into the castle, Drang Lake. I saw the Old King, and I made it past the dragon nests. Let's see here. It's actually been a couple of months since I last time, but yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. I think I made it right up until the Queen. I'm forgetting her name. Jeez. But yeah, the essentially the Queen. I think she's about the final boss before you go to the thing. I mean, I guess I know the game's been out for a while, but I don't want to spoil the
Hmm.
ending for that. But
No,
yeah,
that's all
so
right.
but yeah, substantially further than the first Dark Souls.
Hmm. Uh, what would you say is all that different between Dark Souls 1 and 2, other than the gimping of the magic?
Well, there was a different change up with the health. Like for
Yeah.
example, rings. Rings are incredibly important in Dark Souls 2 because in Dark Souls 1 you had the Eustace flasks and a couple other things that would restore your health. With Dark Souls 2, there are these rings that you buy, and these rings essentially will preserve your health, humanity, souls, everything. But the
Mm.
ring breaks after you die. So essentially, you find these and they're expensive, but you can buy them, and it saves your ass so many times. Because like hey, you're running along a ledge and then you fall off the ledge. In the first game, it doesn't matter if you have a useless flask or not. You fall off a ledge, you're done.
Mm.
You're going back to the bonfire, and you lost your souls, you lost humanity. In the second one, if you got a ring on, if you got a ring on at all times, you fall off the ledge, boom, the ring breaks, and you go right back to the flame, and then you just go by, uh, you know, you go get the ring reforged. So that really made the game almost. It's not. It made it a little easier. Say it doesn't take away from any of the bosses, or it doesn't take away from any of the how hard the enemies are, or how quickly you can die. But it's definitely very nice to have that little safety net. That and that really helps people progress much quicker through the game. Uh, because now, you say you get two or three of these rings, bam, you die once, pop the new ring on. Bam, you die again, pop the last ring on. Get back to the blacksmith, reforge the other two rings, and keep progressing. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the only thing uh, that you really use the flask or the souls for is for your health while you're fighting or while you're in progression to like a boss or something. And even then, you kind of want to map things out and preserve. In the first Dark Souls, you got to really get the map down on your way to the boss. You got to really save up those flasks because you only have but so many of them. Even if you work your ass off, um, in Dark Souls 2, it's a little easier because you got the flasks, the soul, the humanities. Um, you got that stuff. Plus, you've got the ring that's going to preserve your humanity and your souls. Um, so yeah, that's one major difference I can think of off the top of my head. I know their big thing was that they talked about how much harder Dark Souls 2 was going to be. I know that was a big thing that they were claiming as their kind of marketing pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, because they somehow got it in their head that, oh, well, you like this game because it's really hard.
yeah,
Like, no, we like it. Well, yeah. I will say, the challenge factor of the Dark Souls game, uh, is interesting. It's not because it's hard. It's because your AI opponents will actually put up a fight. And they will actually counter you.
hmm
Actually
You know,
smart instead of just standing there letting you hit them.
yeah, pretty much.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like especially when you get to the even more crazy wild card was the enemy players.
Yes.
That was a big mechanic in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 was that you could be going through a world and all of a sudden, here's an invader and it's just another player who's either come to help you or to kill you and steal your stuff or steal your souls.
Yeah.
And
And you don't know which it's going to be.
well, it'll usually identify them. Like if you summon someone from their sign, usually they're helpers. And when you get invaders, you know, uh, they usually appear as a dark red, or the game will tell you you've been invaded by so and so or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and the cool thing was that you had communities of people that popped up from all this in response to that, just based around helping people or based around punishing people who had gotten so powerful they were starting to bully, large groups
Other
of.
players. Yeah.
Yeah. So they would turn out these hunting parties to go find them and kill them and stuff. But that was a really unique mechanic, really cool draw for that game. Was
Yeah.
to join up with some people like you had ones that were called the Sun Bros, and their whole deal was that they were dedicated to helping other players.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, you could be just starting the game off. You're sitting there struggling with like the Taurus demon or like the gargoyles or something.
Mm-hmm.
Which yeah, those were a pain in the ass when you first played them. But say you got another player who was a member of the Sun Bros. The guy's like 2, 3, or even 10 levels above you, but he's there to help you and guide you through the level, help you find all the secret loot. That was a pretty cool, unique mechanic for a game, especially a game like Dark Souls.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, and with that, how about we move on to just talking about the Bloodborne game, which is, I know quite a lot of people are saying that um, it isn't like Dark Souls, but it's a successor to Dark Souls. Uh, and to be perfectly fair, and to be perfectly honest, none of us have played Bloodborne. Because I don't have a PlayStation 4 yet. Uh,
Ditto there.
yeah,
Neither do I.
and I mean, I had some interest when I first heard about it. Because of course, a lot of the very early little teaser trailers weren't really telling you or showing you much. Just that, hey, this new game made by the same guy who did the Dark Souls game is making this new one, and it takes place in more of a modern day setting, sort of. And it's very steampunky, and you have guns and and all these weird, creepy, undead monsters and werewolves and such, and so the night of when Jeff did his day one live stream of BloodBorne, and I got to watch him play it for a few hours, I couldn't help but go, "Oh, it's Dark Souls reskinned." Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I know that's a one thing a lot of people were pointing out. How much similar it was to
It
the,
looks very similar to Dark Souls.
yeah.
In terms of gameplay, it looks exactly like Dark Souls with the added that you have a gun in your other hand that doesn't really work at all like a gun. It's just a stun effect.
Yeah, that threw me for a loop. That was really
Yeah.
really jarring. It's like, oh, he just shot somebody in the face with a shotgun. Oh, it
Oh, it didn't kill
stunned
him?
him.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
just a stun. Oh, okay, well, that's kind of dumb, but okay. I can see the kind of effect that they were going for, but why a gun then? Whatever.
Yeah, it was
Um,
yeah.
but and I mean, I will say, as I've been watching Jeff and John, play a lot more of it for their Patreon um, secret playthrough. Hint, hint. Uh, I would say I do have a little bit more interest in it. I mean, like my initial impressions, was kind of anger, where it's like, really, you guys are freaking out over this? Like, come on. Um, but as I've watched more of it, I do certainly have a lot more interest in it now. I will say that. Because if there's always one thing that you can say about the Dark Souls series and even Bloodborne is that though they are copies of each other or practically the same game, at least the design of them is very unique.
hmm Yeah,
You know,
does character design, level design, the whole atmosphere in general is just very unique, very entertaining to watch.
mm,
It's very yeah, especially with the lore and the feel of Dark Souls. It's a very very unique atmosphere to play inside of and to explore, which ironically ends up being one of my little criticisms for Bloodborne itself is that when you watch it, the gameplay looks fine. We've heard people talk about how it's a little more rewarding for aggressive players and all, but my big thing is just looking at it, and talking to people who've played it. It's very hard for me to come across any kind of story material or any kind of lore or hey, what is this? What's going on?
yeah,
Even talking to people who played it a lot, they just say, I don't know. I've picked up items, I've looked at things, I still got no idea what the stuff is. Why is the blood bad? Why do people want blood? Who are these people? Why are those people there? I don't know.
yeah,
So it's I'll be waiting to see if any more lore comes out on the internet. Because that was a big way that Dark Souls had all its stuff spread out was people were making entire theory videos and theory and idea videos about where things come from or who they are. So I guess I just
mm,
have to see if that happens with Bloodborne.
mm. Hell, somebody who I follow on YouTube, the Super Bunny Hop channel, he did a whole theory about just talking about how the very boss monsters themselves, or even just the monsters themselves, are very Cthulhu esque.
Mm-hmm.
And how there is a theme there with how like these hunters who are human who bond their blood with the monsters, they eventually become monsters themselves because they're just driven insane by it. And I can certainly see that connection there. And I mean the whole design of the monsters. I mean the cleric beast boss, the Father Gastigan. Uh, Now, and I mean those are the only two I've seen. There was the Blood Beast as well, who I think is like the third. And I mean that's about as much as I've seen so far for boss wise, but they were certainly very impressive. Um, and I mean, there aren't a lot of games on the PlayStation 4 that I do have, a lot of heavy interest in checking out. I mean, if anything, there are probably more smaller titles on the PS4 that I really want. Um, One game in particular that I know was a HD re-release. I actually already have, and I got it for free on my 360. Um, Hell, I thought it was funny how Jeff pointed out during one of the other playthroughs of Bloodborne, how after playing the Order, how he pointed out how like, what's funny is that this game has werewolves, and this is a better werewolf game than the Order was. So
Well, that's easy. The Order wasn't even a game. It was a. I mean, I know everyone's making this joke, but it's just, God, it's just a long ass cutscene.
yeah, yeah. Uh, I mean, I will come to a minor defense. Uh, like if someone says like, "Oh well," I mean, it's not a game. It is a game. It's just a very shitty game. It's a very boring, uninteresting, nothing too discerning about it game. It is still a game, because you have a character that you do have control of, that the game will sometimes give you, other controls for. Now, and again, I haven't played The Order. I have watched a lot of Let's Plays and reviews for it that pretty much tell you all you really need to know about it. We're kind of descending into another rant, but but yeah. So all right. So let's go with the final thoughts discussion here. Uh, do either of you guys? I mean, if you had the ability, to get yourselves a PlayStation 4, would you actually have any interest in checking out Bloodborne?
A little bit. Without
Yeah.
having seen any of the advertisements for it or anything like that, I can't really say other than what you've told me about it. I have a little interest, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it'd probably be about the same, just a little bit. I don't know. I played both Dark Souls games, and I guess I would have to be really seriously pitched on how much different Bloodborne is. Especially not just like as far as story goes, but as far as mechanics and all that. It just looks so familiar as far as mechanics go that I don't know. I look at it, I feel like it'd be somewhere I've been already, and I feel like I'd rather just go back and just replay the Dark Souls games I already have if I'm going to be going by those same mechanics.
Yeah. Which was in hell during Jeff's whole first playthroughs of it. It did kind of annoy me how he kept on saying like, well, some people are going to be upset, because it's not Dark Souls 3. Like, it is Dark Souls 3. It's just in a different universe, is all. you know.
Mm-hmm. What?
It's in the future rather than in the past.
Yeah. Uh, but hell. And like a few people have certainly said that, I think Bloodborne is a definite system seller, because I know the only obvious heavy criticism to Bloodborne when it first came out was the load times.
Hmm.
Because, wow. I mean, next gen, every single time that you died or any time that you went to a new area or anything like that, it's been timed out as being a 38-second load screen.
Nice.
And when it first came out, the only screen that you got for it, was just the title. Whereas when they finally patched it, it's slightly better. It's still pretty long. They put up tool tips for it. Finally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 38-second load time. And I mean, some people would say, well, that's really not that long. When you're not doing anything and you're just staring at a screen.
When you're looking like at a blank screen doing nothing, that 38 minutes might as well be an eternity.
Yeah. It's... it feels like you're waiting, like a few minutes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty goddamn annoying. So, I don't even know how much time they might have shaved it down by. Hell, I would think that was something that would come up during testing. Like, hey, the load times are pretty damn long. Well, it is loading a really large level and a lot of enemies and other stuff. So, I suppose that could be understandable. But other than that, are there any other primary reasons or sellers as to why you guys would want a PlayStation 4?
Well, I guess depending on what your preference, you got the new Star Wars Battlefront that's coming out. That so far has been kind of much beleaguered by everybody, but I don't know. I'm still hoping.
I've never played them and never really had much interest in them.
So. First two are fun. It's just fun. Not anything world changing, but they're a lot of fun. I know Uncharted, the new Uncharted game.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a PlayStation exclusive.
But that probably doesn't come out for like another year, though, right?
Right, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, if you held off buying a new PS4 until then, you could probably get a great deal.
Yeah.
Coupling it with your purchase.
They'll probably get bundled with the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, that'd be a smart bundle.
And probably a larger hard drive. And granted, I'm sure the hard drive that they have on it right now is probably a adequate size for it too. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
That may also depend on how many fucking games you have to worry about having to install every time you play them.
Yeah, how many 102 megabyte
or
patches
gigabyte.
or gigabyte? Yeah, excuse me, gigabyte patches you have to install.
Yeah. Man, that was so irritating to me. I've only had a couple of last gen games, that had to install. And those were all PlayStation games too. And I remember that being something that they were trying to implement mainly with the Xbox One. How it was every game has to install when you buy it.
Yeah, fortunately they kind of pulled back on that one with all the negative press it got. Just like the always online.
Yeah.
Always gotta be online. Or, yeah.
Like, no, go fuck yourself. I'm not doing that shit.
Or the Kinect is like, well, we can't uninstall the Kinect because we'd have to remodel the whole thing. It's not like we can press the button. And then sure enough, somebody
we pressed a button.
Yeah, somebody pushed the right button upstairs, and that got disconnected real quick.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we're full of shit. Yeah. And to be fair, the only game that I know that's coming out for the PlayStation 4, I don't remember if it's supposed to come out later this year or what, but there's that No Man's Sky game that's a download only that does have my interest, but at the same time, from everything else that I've been seeing, that they haven't really shown a lot of,
Mhm.
which kind of makes me go like, is there anything more to the game than just, hey, go from planet to planet, kind of walk around, and then hop back in your ship?
Mhm.
Uh, really hope there's more to that, or else otherwise I'm gonna be like, yeah, go fuck yourself, game. I don't care.
I mean, it's tough to see anything else. I haven't really done a hard search in a little bit, but apparently the last I
Yeah,
saw, that's all the videos were. It's kind of
yeah.
space combat, flying around, land the ship, get out.
I haven't even actually seen any space combat at all. All I've seen, which, yeah, looks really amazing. How it's like, hey, you're walking along the surface of a planet, you hop in your ship, and you're taking off and you're leaving the planet. You still have full and complete control of your ship. No load times. You fly through space. You see a shit ton of other ships. You fly off to another planet, and you just coast along the surface, and again, no load times, which again screams to me, yes, that's next gen.
Mm.
That's awesome. But is there more to it than that? I mean, I really hope so, because
Yeah,
if not,
because
I'm gonna be really disappointed.
I kind of hate to say this, but it's kind of sound like it's just going to be a glorified tech demo.
Uh, everything. Well, hell, I mean, weren't there people who were calling the Order a friggin' tech demo, basically?
Yeah,
Well,
but
shoot,
I
look at
think No Man's Sky is going to turn out to be exactly that. Sounds like.
It was a bit
I'm
of a
hoping
shame.
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just get flashbacks to what was it? Oh, geez, the shooter that Xbox was really pushing has the Traveler comes down out of space, is on Earth. Humanity's been pushed back to
Oh, Destiny?
Destiny. Yeah, I knew it would start with
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Well, and like,
yeah. It just gives me like big flashbacks of Destiny, where everyone's like, "Oh, this is going to change the world. This is going to be the next big thing." And it's like,
well,
yeah,
from other people who I've talked to, um, they love Destiny.
mm,
They love it.
mm,
Even though I'll be the first to say, like, yeah, there's nothing else here. This gameplay is not groundbreaking. I've played Halo.
Yeah,
I've played many other first person shooters that did a much more interesting job with this, but, you know, hell, I was talking to somebody who was like, "Oh my god, the lore in this game is interesting." The lore's not even in the game. You have to leave the game to even look at any of the lore,
yeah.
which is a big thing that I understand about it. And I mean, to be fair, it is a really good game. I mean, it's very fast paced. The action is good,
Hmm.
but it is just Halo, and I mean, there was really nothing else to it. I mean, there was really no interesting story presented to me, and Halo again did a better job with its story. And
Hmm.
hmm
Right. But I think the main thing is like it promised the world. Is basically
yeah,
what it was. It promised the world, and it only turned out to be halfway decent or okay or even good.
yeah,
And I think that's what No Man's Sky is going to turn out to be. Is they're promising they're promising all of the worlds. You know,
mm,
and
They're promising the freaking universe, and you're not even going to get that.
exactly. Well,
probably
I think
not.
you'll get that, but it'll just wind up. If
DLC, DLC, bro, DLC, Summer Pass. It's like,
well, I mean, hey,
fuck you.
if they can
I'm
pull
not doing
off,
that.
yeah, if they can pull off making a minor galaxy inside of that game, there's no limit to the DLC they could do that could be genuinely interesting and fun.
Yeah.
Um,
If they give you a big enough game for starters, and, it's like that's something that's really been irritating to me about other games. Like I understand Destiny did that whole thing with DLC, where they gave you more story with DLC, or I should say, story with
Something that
DLC.
they really should have done to begin with.
Yeah,
mhm.
and I mean, to be fair, I only played a few hours of Destiny, but I got bored very quickly with it.
Yeah, no, there's been plenty of people making videos about their criticisms about that game, but yeah, like I said, that's the biggest feeling I get out of a game like No Man's Sky. I'm saying I'm hoping I'm wrong, and we still got some time before it comes out. So I'll be really, really watching to see how the interaction with those
Yeah.
worlds turns out. What are you doing when you're out on the planet? Do you just walk around? Do you have guns, or do you have people you trade
Can you
with?
mine? Can you
Yeah,
do
Yeah.
yeah,
Why are
yeah,
you flying
craft and
around the universe in a spaceship visiting other worlds?
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
my biggest question is, where are the aliens and how do you interact with them? Because I mean, they can't just be these dozens and dozens of planets or hundreds that you can visit and there's nobody else there.
yeah.
It's just you and your spaceship.
Yep, that's it. Uh, hell, like I was actually tempted to ask, what was probably the last game that you were, uh, like, what was a game that you guys had really big interest in and then were disappointed by?
Hmm.
Because I know the last one for me was Watch Dogs.
Hmm.
I think, see, it's for buying, it's tough because I'm pretty selective about what I buy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
me too.
And the only one that pops into my head would be Soul Calibur 5.
Hmm.
yeah,
And
good one.
Yeah,
I was expecting so much more from it.
yeah,
I've kind of come to expect actual artwork, character bios,
story.
story. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was a story, but it was about
Yeah,
these
but
other
it like
characters that you
involved
didn't
like
care about.
these two jack-offs you could give a shit about.
Yeah.
I think one that wasn't disappointing up front, but slowly got disappointing after a while was the last Battlefield
Oh,
4, I believe.
I thought you were gonna say the Battlefield Hardline.
No, I didn't get a chance to play that one. But the one that got me was the last was Battlefield 4. Not because up front it was amazing, it was great, but the more patches and the more updates they had, for some reason, just the less and less I could play it. It kept crashing. It kept booting me out of sessions. It
Mm.
got to the point where it was unplayable. So that
Mm-hmm.
was a big disappointment. And it was like they instead of fixing things, they just kept releasing more patches over more patches, and
Things
it
that just
wasn't getting
kind of kept
fixed.
making it worse.
Yeah, it just kept making it worse and worse.
Yeah. Actually, I forgot. Another game that I bought, which again, I don't even know why I do it. Because it's like you really should rent it first, but I couldn't, because nobody else had any rental copies of it. Was Hyrule Warriors.
Oh yeah.
That I had some minor interest in, and then I know Jeff did a review for it and said, yeah, it's actually pretty good. And I bought it for $60 a while ago, and played it for a little bit. And was like, I'm bored already. The I
Well,
God damn it.
that was kind of your biggest mistake there. You bought it for $60, Jordan, for something that's probably a $20 game.
Yeah, never buy full price on something.
No.
I mean, at least on something that's iffy, man. I even got Shadow of Mordor. I got that for like 40, I think, because I had some
Mm-hmm.
trade-ins. But yeah, that.
Well, and hell, I mean, I got Tomb Raider for free, and that just turned out to be an all-around really good game.
Oh wow, how'd you get? Wow, that is a good
Xbox
deal.
Gold.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's funny too because like when I had PlayStation Plus, I got it free on there too, but I never got around to playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got the Xbox Gold, it was on there for free too. And of course, everybody who I watch or respect or am friends with, like Andy, were all telling me it's really good,
Hmm.
and it's like, yeah, I should really play that. And I had it just sitting on my Xbox for probably a couple of weeks, and then one night I was like, all right, fine, I will sit down, I will start her up, and I'm gonna play it. And I didn't stop until 6 in the morning.
Nice.
I just kept playing. I was like, this is really fucking good. And beat it in 3 days.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I'm actually really looking forward to the sequel to it too. So, and I mean, like, I'm trying to remember, like, what was the last, like, $60 or whatever game that I bought that I was really disappointed by. But, like, that's kind of the thing, like, I don't buy a lot of, the big full price games anymore. Like, I do, always make sure to rent first.
Yeah, I kind of don't have that option anymore.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Wish I did, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it never also hurts, to hear, what someone else thinks of it. Maybe somebody who you trust or whatever. But yeah, I think maybe one of the last times I bought a game that I was disappointed by was probably back in the PS2 era. Of a game that I bought and then got really disappointed by. I couldn't remember off the top of my head what it was. I know when I first got my PlayStation 2, there were a lot of games I went through rental titles of that all sucked balls. I know that. Which
yeah, but that was back in the early days of it when it first came out.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact is that that's true of probably any launch system.
Yeah, that's why I usually wait a year or two before I actually get it.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because like back in the day, with like Nintendo or or any old system like that, it was always guaranteed that launch games, or at least games that came with the system, were always good.
Mm-hmm.
There was always quality. Like, hey, like I don't remember though, but I would have to imagine that a Sega Genesis probably came, with a copy of Sonic, or something like that. And
well, I know when I got my
of...
first Nintendo, it came with like a free copy of Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt.
Yep. Yep. Hell, well, and I was actually trying to remember if like a first launch PS3 or anything like that, if they, did come with a game, I don't remember if they did or not. Hell, I don't even think when Xbox first launched, original Xbox, if it came with a game.
I don't think they do anymore. It's like they'll might do like special editions, like special themed consoles.
Yeah,
come with that game, but
yeah, I think there are some PlayStation 3s or 4s that will launch with one of their more popular first-person shooters, or like a copy of Destiny, or something like that. I know PlayStation 3, when I first bought it, came with a copy of Uncharted on it.
Yeah.
Which was a game I really wanted to play, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, we should cut this short because we're going on way too long. We went off topic probably about like a half hour ago. But hey, that's what we do here. So those are kind of our thoughts on the Dark Souls series and BloodBorne. I would be interested...
random stuff.
Yeah. I would be interested in it. There aren't a lot of games that are out now on the PlayStation 4 that have me so hyped that I'm willing to just throw out $400 for it right now.
Yeah, nothing that you can't get on the last gen consoles anyway.
Yeah. There are only a few games though that are also available on last gen.
Like
and that I've heard that are actually quality good games.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if Thief 4 is available on the old consoles, but I heard that game was not very good, or really even that interesting. And I never had that much interest in the Thief games to begin with, anyway. Actually. So, all right, everybody, that I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up right here. I hope that you guys have enjoyed. Let us know actually what you guys think about Dark Souls series, BloodBorne, or even the whole console generation in and of itself, because this is kind of a weird time for consoles right now, where there's not a lot of hype, there's not a lot out for them that are really big top sellers or anything like that.
It's kind of almost like they realize that no one's really going to bother with them for a year or two.
Yeah.
So they're kind of not bothering to hype anything right now.
Yeah, which doesn't seem very smart. It's like, hey, we put out this new console. We don't have a lot on it that you can really play or may really want to play. So...
I mean, they are hyping it a little bit, but they're...
Oh, yeah.
Not like they have in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, anyway, I hope that you guys have enjoyed, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.
Let me take a minute and tell you my plan.